Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We have some interesting news today. We have two new updates on Palantir that we have to talk about. I'm doing another video a little bit later today talking about their newest video that they put out on their channel with the Hyundai Heavy Industries deal that they made back in January, which was a really interesting deal. It's kind of like Skywise for the ship industry, so that video will be coming out soon. But we have two new articles that I want to go through on none other than dailypalantir.com, which is my website. And I think these articles are really important. So first article, Palantir teases a product demo with a new moon picture. Palantir has tweeted this right here, what you're seeing on the screen, coming April 27, 2022, and it's a picture of the moon. And this is in reference to a new demo day that they're doing with one of their products on April 27, 2022. What is the name of that product? Well, the moon kind of gives it away. Apollo. Apollo is one of those products that's really hard to understand. I did a video on it a while ago. I'll probably leave it in the description. To be honest, like I kind of get it. I asked CodeStrap about it. He understands it a little bit more, but it's difficult to understand the nature of what Apollo fully is. Now, Apollo is, the moon is in reference to their Apollo product, and Apollo is in reference to Apollo Lunar Module Eagle, which was the first spaceship to land on the moon. That's why it was called the Apollo mission. And I'm assuming Palantir named that product Apollo, not because they're saying the company's going to go to the moon, which would be a pretty interesting, that would be a pretty cool argument, but more so that, going to outer space and the moon, it's like the idea of the Apollo was going to the moon and doing something that no one had ever done before. I think maybe the Russians did it before us. I'm a little hazy on that history, but the point is when we go from Earth to the moon, that's an incredibly difficult task, and that's not easy to get done. So the fact that we were able to do that shows this level of inspiration and motivation and persistence, this idea that, humanity will not quit until we get things done. Naming a product Apollo kind of means that you're going to be able to do something for a company, an organization, a consumer, whatever audience you're offering a product to, and be able to inspire them, motivate them, try to change the way they think of the world, because obviously our Earth and our humanity and the way we conceptualize the nature of existence fundamentally changed when we were able to put boots on the ground on the moon, because we actually got a rocket off the Earth and flew it to the moon. That's actually insane, to the fact that we were able to do that. Now, this is also proven by Jackson from the Palantir Vision channel. He tweeted, with Palantir stock retreating back to the 10s, I am still confused why we had not heard anything on Palantir's annual demo day for 2022. Last year's was in January. Without a Foundry in Gotham 2022 launch event, it calls into question product development that is so essential for them. And Lisa Gordon, who I didn't know, but after I looked into, I was like, oh, she's pretty important. She's the Palantir head of global communications. She responded a couple days ago that says Apollo is coming up in April. She tweeted that April 10th, and then yesterday we got this new picture, April 12th, so 2 days later, Palantir's Apollo demo day coming out April 27th. So Jackson basically tweeted right when, actually, no, he tweeted this on March 4th. Oh, that's so interesting. He tweeted this on March 4th. So he tweeted this a month ago, and they finally responded a month later. So I guess they saw this a month ago, and they're like, we don't want to respond right now, which is pretty awesome, right? So what can we expect? I think the main thing we're going to expect is a couple things. Number one, we're going to either see new product features on Apollo, so like new innovations that they've been able to create over the past year that they're going to be able to ship to their clients, or that they're going to be able to ship over-the-air updates to new people that may be joining or may be buying into the product. That's one thing, right? So just new features within Apollo. So Apollo already exists. There might be new features coming to it. Number two, we might see new integrations of Apollo with other companies. So one of the things Palantir and companies like Palantir does is that they take their products and they integrate them with their current clients, and they make case studies out of them. So we haven't seen that many case studies for Apollo. I mean, we've seen a ton for Foundry. Gotham, we've seen the obvious ones working with the government. Obviously, the Russia-Ukraine crisis has allowed Palantir to work even more with the government, and I'm sure there's going to be case studies coming on either Gotham or Foundry being implemented into the government to help with the Ukrainian refugee crisis and the things that we're seeing there. But we haven't seen that many demos with Apollo. We've seen a couple of videos, nothing that crazy in terms of case studies. So one of the things I think we can expect at this event also might be that they're working with, I don't know, let's call it AT&T. because we've known that AT&T has been rumored to work with Palantir through job descriptions. And because they're working with AT&T wanted to integrate Apollo into their, data analytics sphere. So as a result of integrating that, they were able to create a case study, they were able to make a video, they were able to make a demo, and they were able to make something that explains what Apollo does at a company like AT&T. If they're able to present that, I mean, it's really, really good marketing for the product, because now more and more people might actually buy the product because they understand what the product does, and they're more in line to understand how to value the product in the context of the stock price. If the product is understood at a fundamentally stronger level, that could be something that's not baked into the stock price actually starting to get baked into the stock price, because now people know what Apollo does at the end of the day. So that's what I'm looking forward to on Apollo. Either new product built on Apollo, new simulations of Apollo, a new integration or a case study, or potentially like maybe new modularizations of what Apollo looks like as it's integrated into an organization. If anything, I'm looking to understand Apollo better. I mean, that's the core thesis. And they put out a ton of videos over the past couple of weeks with the chief architect of Foundry actually explaining Foundry in a much more simpler sense, which has given people the ability to make more YouTube videos to understand understand Foundry and explain it to the masses. So if they're able to do what they've done for Foundry and really break it down for Apollo, because the video they have on their website, I'm sorry, it just doesn't do justice to like actually understand what the heck Apollo does, then I think it's going to be really good for retail investors in general. So that's the first news update. The second news update is that 3 new ownership filings for Palantir were disclosed. And these were from this Twitter account, which I'm a big fan of. I think you guys all should follow them. Rachi, they're in Japan, and they're, as you can see, 100% in on Palantir. So they find a lot of this stuff. So the summary is DMB Asset Management AS reports a 8% increase in ownership of Palantir shares, now holding 239,000 in April, up from 221,000 in January. Spence Asset Management discloses the start of a new holding for none other than Palantir, now holding 1,392,833 shares as of March 31st, 2022, which means they likely got in their prices probably in the 13, 14, 12, 11 range. I mean, 12 is probably the range that most of these institutions, as they've been averaging down or starting a new position, have been able to buy. So that's another institution that we know now owns 1.4 million shares of Palantir, which is awesome. Then we have Nordea Investment Management. This was the interesting one. Reported a 1,500% increase in their Palantir position, disclosing 1.3 million shares in April, up from 80,000 shares in January. So if they had 80,000 shares in January, let's give them the benefit of the doubt saying they bought it in January, bought it in November, December. That's around $16, $17, $18. That's the price you were buying at. Palantir obviously dropped even worse, right? Got down to $9.90 at the lowest of levels. And they increased their share count by 1,500%. So when a company, when a bank, when an investment firm, when an ETF, when they increase a position by 1,500%, not saying it's the most important ETF in the world, not saying 1.3 million shares is like the biggest number in the world, but when I care less about the number of shares they have and the percentage increase, right? If you had 1 share and you go to 80, you're up 80 times the position you had. If you go from 80,000 shares to 1.3 million, you're up 1,500%. So to me, these are all bullish things, obviously. It means that institutions are buying the dip. Now, this is not going to be reflected into the stock price because obviously the stock price is controlled by algorithms and a lot of people are selling and a lot of institutions have to sell to hedge. So seeing new disclosings are awesome because it lets us know that institutions are increasing the ownership percentages that they have in the company or they're starting brand new positions. But it doesn't mean that the market is going to react to it yet, which you have to be able to deal with. And this is in line with the article I put out on April 4th, which was about 12 new filings. And you guys can go through this here. I'll put it in the description. Institutions increasing their funds by 223%, 8%, 80%, 120%, 6%. So a lot of institutions were increasing 358% their percentage increase ownership position of Palantir, which is obviously good news because that means more people want to buy the dip and they believe that these prices are cheap. Now, the question is inflation, supply chains, macro, inverted bond yields. How long is this going to last in a period of uncertainty that we are in? And should you be buying the dip on Palantir? Again, I think Palantir is a phenomenal stock price at this. I mean, I think it is. I was buying it at 25. So obviously I think at 12, it's amazing. I do think things can go lower. I do think the S&P can get to, lower than what we see right now. I do think that we can have a legitimate recession. I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know how that's going to be triggered. And I don't know if inflation is going to be the thing that, the thing that breaks the camel's back. I definitely butchered that metaphor. That allows that to happen. Primarily because core inflation decreased, right? Inflation was at 8.5%, but core inflation was expected to be at 0.5% and it came in at 0.3%. Now the PPI came in and the PPI was bad, was at 11.2%, but I really think that was because of Russia and Ukraine. I don't think that's something that's astronomically wrong with the domestic level of supply chains and inflation. That's really because of external geopolitical pressures on energy, food, and gas. So we're going to see, I think, over the next couple months how things react in the context of CPI and PPI. I think things can go lower, so you have to be very cautiously buying if you're going to be buying the dip. But in the way I see it, I think that Palantir has a lot of room potential. And if you go long on the stock for the next 5 years, I think this price is pretty good right now. So I have 2,000 shares of Palantir. I'm not buying too much anymore because I'm kind of maxed out on the amount that I've bought. But let me know if you are buying shares. Let me know what you guys think. And also let me know, do you think things can go lower? And are you waiting for an even better price given the massive level of uncertainty that exists, especially with rising interest rates right now? You could say the market's baking it in, but then the Fed says something and the market didn't bake that in, and then it just drops lower. The 2 weeks of gains that we had over the past couple of weeks and this like bear market rally were erased over the past couple of days. Things are a little confusing and things are very uncertain. So it's hard to buy stuff sometimes because you got to be kind of skeptical of like how much is this going to go up or down, right? If you bought Palantir at 14.40 last week, you're down, right? So it's a little bit tough. But if you have a 5-year long-term horizon of like, okay, I think Palantir can be a really, really big stock, I don't care if it's 14 or 12, then it ultimately doesn't matter. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about institutions increasing their ownership percentage and what you think we can expect on Apollo Product Day, April 27th. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.